It's a common gripe when travelling. You finally get the chance to go on a big trip only to find your destination is overwhelmed with others who want the same thing. Dealing with over-tourism is not just an issue for holidaymakers, it's a major challenge facing popular places across the country and right around the world. Take the Canary Islands. It's in the Spanish archipelago off West Africa in the Atlantic Ocean, with visitors drawn to its year-round dry subtropical climate. But residents have had enough. They say the unsustainable influx of tourists is pricing them out of accommodation, forcing some to sleep in their cars. Anti-tourism graffiti has appeared and one group has embarked on a hunger strike to make the point. Italy is also grappling with the sheer number of tourists in Venice. Out of the estimated 20 million visitors a year, about 80% come for just one day, and they tend to spend little. Residents say they suffer the consequences: congestion, environmental damage, along with lifestyle and cultural effects. The mayor is bringing in a new $8 fee for day trippers to help preserve the world-famous lagoon city.
Dobbiamo vincere.
We must win. This is not an initiative to close a city. There's no limited number. We're simply trying to make a city bookable and explaining the people who come in the same day who are the real point of the matter, because those who come to the hotel are already considered inside and will have no problem. On the contrary, those who come in the day and have the right to do so can know the number of people who are there and whether or not it's worth coming with their children or whether it's better to book another day. It's a very simple thing.
In 2021, cruise ships were banned from entering its waters. It's a measure that's also been adopted in Amsterdam.
We think, particularly with cruise ships, there has to be a positive impact on the local community. And whether that's economic or investing in protecting the environment, that needs to be debated up front, because you can't just move thousands of people into an environment without protecting while you're visiting.
Other destinations have recently taken steps to control tourist numbers by introducing charges or restricting access. Indonesia has brought in a $15 levy for people travelling to the resort island of Bali, while Japan is limiting visitors and applying fees at popular sites. The issue of over-tourism was a topic of discussion at the recent World Economic Forum in Switzerland. The head of AirAsia told the panel there needs to be a balance.
Yes, certain areas can manage this place better by distributing its tourists, but I think people want to travel and the market will eventually sort itself out. But we shouldn't be hysterical and make populist decisions.
But booking operators believe there's another way to tackle over-tourism by promoting lesser-known destinations in what's called long-tail tourism. Trip.com says advancements in technology and social networks also allow it to promote locations that offer a different experience or advise travellers to visit popular places during their off-seasons.
If we have no management for the travel destination, it will be overcrowded. The user's experience will not be very good. But if we push too far, for example, the one extreme case is 3 years of lockdown. Nobody travel, right? The tourism, there is no over-tourism at all, but it's not going to work. So we need to find a way that demand and supply can eventually, gradually grow side by side. And technology can play a very good role.
Let's delve into these issues now with Wesley Espinoza. He's the Executive Director of the Centre for Responsible Travel and joins us live from Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Well, we've just heard there a list of some of the key places around the world where this is happening. It's much, much broader than that. What is at the crux of this issue for you?
At the crux of the issue is that we have a growing population and travel is accessible to just about anybody. You think about the affordability of flights, the rise of low-cost airlines, as well as some soft technology contributing to that, right? You have sort of an Instagram world where somebody sees a destination and it's more accessible than ever. People are putting those destinations on their bucket lists. And there's also a sharing economy that's sort of added to how you can experience a destination, where it's not just a hotel. You can go stay at a short-term rental in a place for a day. And so over-tourism is really a combination of so many different compounding factors related to tourism.
And I'm keen to talk about what are the solutions. Clearly, some of those were identified just a moment ago. But first, Wesley, what do you see as the biggest problem that over-tourism creates?
The biggest problem that over-tourism creates is it sort of takes away what makes a place special. And I want to expand on that not what makes a place special just for visitors to see, right? But usually when a place has something special, maybe it's natural assets, cultural assets, or spiritual assets even of a place, those things are important to a community and the fabric of a community. So when you have over tourism in a place, it starts to rip apart at some of that fabric, and what makes that place special and home for many people sort of starts to go away. And when that happens, you have a whole host of different economic related issues, folks that can't afford rent or places to stay in those areas, or end up living so far away that their entire life is just commuting in for work and leaving. And it really can change the fabric of a place.
So what do you see as the most important solutions here?
So what we believe at the Center for Responsible Travel is really important is to go beyond this idea of destination marketing, where you just market a place to visit it, right? Like, I live in Atlanta. Let's say you see a marketing campaign that says, visit Atlanta. Moving beyond that, it's the idea of destination management, but really holistic destination stewardship. And this idea is sort of centered on bringing all stakeholders in a place, the public sector, the private sector, and residents, so that you can understand a place, understand the challenges that are most important to a place, and then bring all of these different people to the same management table to try and come up with an issue. Now, I know that sounds a little vague, but really when you can't take one approach to every single destination, right? A certain tax in a destination may not work somewhere on the other side of the world. And so the way to really address over-tourism holistically, where you look at some of the environmental issues, you look at some of the cultural issues, the way to do that is to bring all stakeholders together and collectively come up with a solution and manage place.
And presumably that will take some time to do, and because what you're really then trying to do is change hearts and minds about where people go and the way, the footprint in which they have when they visit. So what sort of impact do those fees that we've heard on arrival or to visit certain places have as kind of, I guess, an interim measure?
I think they can have a really good effect on an interim measure, sort of depending on how they're implemented, right? When you think about some of these fees, the idea is that money goes back into developing the place and providing for residents. So if that's managed effectively and does so for residents, and also, makes people think twice about visiting, or if not think twice about visiting, think about how they're visiting, then they are good measures, but they're not the whole approach. You really have to take a multifaceted approach to think about how can we get the right messaging to visitors, right? How can we ensure that we protect what we love? And how can we ensure that, we don't totally stop tourism? Because as we saw in Maui, for example, after the horrendous wildfires, a real challenge can be tourism totally shutting down. Places that depend on tourism need tourism, and so you really have to balance the needs of visitors, residents, and place.
Wesley Espinosa, Executive Director of the Centre for Responsible Travel, thank you so much for your time this morning.